Welcome back to the SlotsFan Podcast. We interview slot creators about their channels, their biggest wins, and all their tips for having more fun in the casino more responsibly. And today we've got two awesome guests. We've got Jared from Jackpot J Slots and Wasil Dowd, who's a cooking influencer. Thanks so much for coming on the show, guys. And also before we get started, make sure to check out both their channels using the link in the description of this video and give them both a sub. Thank you both so much for being on the show. Jared, maybe I can start with you, and you can share with people what they can expect to see over on your channel if they haven't checked it out already.
Yeah, I think, the simple way to say it is, look, we play high limit slots and we show it all. I started this channel on transparency, and we can step back in a minute, but every day you're going to see a new video, different games. We try to mix it up. And our bets go anywhere from $25 up to $500. Generally, we try to stay at or below $100 a spin, but it's all high limit, and it's truly unedited. I mean, other than cutting out a dead moment, but I mean, you see every spin, and I recap at the end of the video exactly what we won and lost, and it's really what I've tried to build this channel on, which is showing the reality of high limit slots and other high limit gaming. We do some tables on Instagram.
That's awesome. I mean, at that stakes, it's got to be pretty up and down roller coaster ride, which must be really exciting for you and for the viewers. Wasil, I'm curious, what's your involvement in this project? How do you know Jared, and how are you connected to the slots influencer space?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually met Jared at a casino, of course.
Where else?
Yeah, all right. Where else? But yeah, I mean, I was a viewer beforehand. I absolutely loved his content. And the one thing that I saw that separated him from everyone else was how authentic he was. Again, I could tell he wasn't editing out anything. I watched him film a video before I got even involved. So I saw how transparent he was with the wins. Obviously a high limit player, so there's a lot of ups and downs, as you said. And I just, I love the space. So I really wanted to, work with him. And I thought, I could really help him out, a cameraman and, someone just traveling with him and helping him film everything and whatnot. So that's pretty much my involvement. Just two guys working on a slot channel together, and the audience seems to love it. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got involved and how we met. And it's been awesome so far. So
that's really cool. I mean, there's such a wide variety of stakes and different styles of channels now, and for all kinds of different audiences. Like you mentioned, you play high limit all the way up to $500 a spin. I'm curious, how'd you get into the space, and was that something that you were already doing? I find with a lot of influencers, they were already playing slots, and someone along the way was like, you should probably start recording what you're doing. Was that the case with you, or what led you to actually kicking it off?
Yeah, it really wasn't, I would say, compared to some of those stories I've heard from others. I have played, so I'm in my 40s. I've been gambling for 25, 30 years now. And, I actually started as a table player. I played a lot of poker and a lot of blackjack. And then somewhere along the way, however many years ago, I saw this Wheel of Fortune slot machine that caught my attention, because who doesn't love Wheel of Fortune? And this is the original, right? The original 3-reel game with the wheel at the top. And, I would go play 10 spins, and then I would go play 20 or 30. And then I found myself not playing as much blackjack and shifting over. And over the years, of course, these games have become much more interactive, and I started exploring other games, and I just found myself playing slots all the time, just recreationally. And candidly, I didn't even know there were slot channels. I didn't even catch it during COVID. I missed the whole thing. But somewhere back in 2022, 23, I stumbled across this, and I started watching them. And of course I was interested, and there were a lot of high limit channels out there and a lot of other channels as well. And I'm watching this, and again, I'm watching these channels that they're going to tell you how to win, or they're going to help people win, or tips and tricks, or, here's my video and every day I win massive jackpots. And it was interesting, but I also, am I allowed to swear? I call bullshit. Right? And, because I know, right? I've been doing this long enough as a player to know that this is not reality. And candidly, I was kind of getting pissed off because, and look, I understand, right? We're trying to entertain and people want to see the big wins, but I was like, we should really, like, I want to show people what it's really like what is the emotional up and down. And so I started thinking about it, but I wasn't really seriously thinking. I mean, I don't know anything about this, right? I'm too old to understand how YouTube works, and you know, you can't film in places. I mean, I'm at Aria, and I'm like, can I film here? And they're like, I don't know. And then security's like, no, you can't. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. And then there was a string of events that I'll go through quickly that kind of you know, set me on my journey. And you know, one of them is, so I've spent my career in the corporate world, which, you know, really didn't suit my style. I'm a risk taker by nature. I like to be aggressive. I like to push the envelope. And that's not really corporate culture, right? They want you to fall in line. I did mergers and acquisitions, and there were a lot of deals that I thought the company should do, and they didn't want to do them. And so I was really becoming just disenfranchised with the fact that I can't execute this agenda. And so I started poking into it. And then I just happened to notice this gal named Lady Luck was coming to Greektown in Detroit for a little meet and greet. And I was like, you know, maybe I could just ask her a couple questions. And so I sign up for this meet and greet, and I end up hijacking. I really hijacked Miran for like 2 hours. I did talk to her too, but I just started asking questions, right? Understanding their journey, but more importantly, understanding like, how does it really work? I mean, monetarily, and what does it take, and how, you know, just all the little bits and pieces. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I could do this. And I happened to be in Vegas a couple months later, and they go, hey, did you hear they're allowing filming now? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they said, you can film. And I was like, okay. And so I literally am standing there with my phone like this, and I'm like, yeah, I'm playing Dragon Link. I mean, you know, I'm just doing what I mean, there's no idea what I'm doing. And so I started filming, and I got killed on that trip because I didn't know, like, how long am I filming? What's a video? Just whatever. But I got back, and when I went to Greektown that night, I ran into a host, and he said, you know, what can I do to earn your business? And candidly, I was like, nothing. I have no interest in playing here. And, you know, because I didn't do a lot of local playing. And I said, well, you know, what if I started filming videos at home? Or, you know, in my hometown. And so I called him back, and I said, I'll tell you what. I said, if you guys let me film, I'll come play at your casino. And he really hustled because they, you know, other than, you know, when somebody like Lady Luck comes in town, they didn't have anybody filming. And, you know, they got it done. And so I sort of started, and I actually was starting to film. And then I was like, wait a minute, like, I don't have a brand. I don't have a name. I don't have a YouTube page. Like, I didn't have anything. And so I just started throwing it together. And, you know, so, you know, my name is Jared Scott, but a lot of people call me Jay. And I was, you know, I was thinking about somebody like Brian, who goes by Brian Christopher. And I was like, but I really wanted something that people could search and find. So I was like, well, you know, jackpots, that's what I do. It's kind of the goal of what I'm trying to. And so I said, Jackpot Jay. And then it was just like, sure, let's do it. And, you know, I put my name on a shirt and just kind of started going. And, you know, that's how the journey started. And then it was just trying to figure it out, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting 3 views a video because my videos sucked back then. You know, they were real. I mean, they were not entertaining. And
yeah, there's a lot that goes into a YouTube channel, even beyond just filming the content, for sure.
There really is. And so, you know, I just started off, and then my big break, I guess, you know, there were a few of them, but I was filming a Dragon Link video, and it was a $50 bet, 10 cent denomination, and I get a bonus, and I hit a high limit major, and I hit 2 minors, and I hit like 3 minis all on the same board. It was a crazy board. It was one of those jackpots and videos. You're like, wow, this is really cool. But, you know, we have cool jackpots all the time that don't go anywhere. But what I didn't realize until after was there was this extremely drunk woman behind me shouting the whole time. And if you watch the video, it's like half the people get pissed because they hate that this woman is so vulgar and so foul. And then half the people think it's hysterical because she's clearly drunk, clearly crashing into the video. And it just, that's the video that went viral. And I was like, wow, I guess, now we've got some momentum. So, it's been a journey since then.
Yeah, I bet.
And so,
Congrats on, taking the plunge into the channel and then all the work that I'm sure has gone into it so far. I know what goes on behind the scenes with channels like this, and it's especially with slots channels, especially high stakes slots channels. So congrats on where you're at. And it sounds like you've got big ambitions for your channel, and you sort of saw this as an opportunity to begin with that you wanted to go after. And you mentioned being aggressive in business. Is that kind of what this is? Is it a business opportunity for you, or is it a passion project?
It's a little bit of both, but I sort of lead with the passion. I mean, I didn't get into this thinking, I want to make millions of dollars, I'll say starting a business and an enterprise. It was sort of like, this is a passion. I see an opportunity in the market. I think people will enjoy it. And if it turns into more or whatever it turns into, that's great. And I think Wasil probably has some bigger thoughts and ambitions he can touch on. But, from my perspective, it's one of those examples of, if you're authentic and if you just are who you are and you do what you do and people like it, then the rest will follow. And, and I don't view myself as an influencer. I view myself as an entertainer. And I don't even know if I view myself as an entertainer as much as I view myself as a guy who's having fun playing slots. And if you're entertained by that, then it's great. Obviously, if I wasn't entertaining, nobody would watch. But it's really just that I enjoy doing it and I have fun. I love playing. But like you said, I mean, when I got into this, I just thought, I'll make some videos and throw them up on there. I was spending hundreds of hours, even though my videos aren't edited, the editing still takes forever. And so it's a ton of work behind the scenes. And it very, very quickly got to a point that said, this may be a hobby or a passion, but if I don't treat it like a business to a certain degree, it's just not worth the time. And I, people come up to me the same way you sort of mentioned in the beginning, or like, I should start posting my stuff. And it's like, yeah, you know what, if you go on a Friday night and hit a couple jackpots, like that's cool. But, to come up with 365 of these plus anything else that you do on top, it's a whole different attitude and a whole different level of commitment. And so, I don't do anything kind of half-assed very well. Like I kind of dive in. And so again, once I got started, it was like, I have to treat this, even if it is a passion project, I have to treat it like a business and go along that path. Because you just can't be successful doing this otherwise.
Yeah, it's super competitive. There's so many channels that are, going all out. Wasil, I'm curious, how you got into the story, as well as if you could fill people in a bit on your background as a cooking influencer. And like your channels, frankly, are really, really big. And Jared mentioned maybe you have some bigger ambitions for the slot space. So can you tell us how did this start for you?
No, for sure. For me, social media wise, I've been filming videos since I was 12 years old. So I've been doing this for a really long time. My audience got really big a few years ago. And I'll tell you one thing for sure, all influencers gamble. We all love to gamble. It's just in our nature. So obviously, like I said, I met Jackpot Jay at a casino, and obviously I'd watched his videos before. And I mean, he told you straight up, like, he didn't know what he was doing to an extent, filming and everything like that. And I saw a way where, two passions, we can combine both of our passions and really make something happen. I mean, we are so like realistic with what we're filming. I mean, when we lose big and we show it. I mean, on some live streams, we've lost 30 or 40 grand just filming. And in my eyes, there's a few, I don't want to say that no one does it. There's obviously a few influencers that really do show like the real losses, but a lot of them really do just post their wins. And I mean, I think he's likable. I think he's funny. I think he does deserve like the success in every way, shape, and form. So I'm going to use, what I know about growing social media pages to grow his. And I mean, I think it's going great so far. I think people are seeing how authentic we are. I mean, we don't hold anything back. If we lose, I mean, hell, we just posted an all aboard video the other day where we lost 30 grand, and it was 40 straight minutes of us not getting a single bonus. You know what I mean? A lot of people won't show that. So, we're going to keep going, and we're going to post every day, and we're going to come up with a bunch of really cool ideas and just see it grow. And we're seeing a lot of people follow and a lot of people watching daily. So I'm super excited to see what's going to happen. I think it's going to turn out great. But yeah, I do want to point out, like, again, even if we didn't have this channel, me and him would both still be gambling. So obviously it really is like a passion for both of us. And we work great together. So by no means did either of us start this to, make $1 million or whatever. We really started this because it's so much fun. And obviously down the line, I'm sure opportunities will come up, but it really is a passion project for both of us.
That's really cool. I've had other influencers describe being like monetizing on YouTube and other things as like another loyalty program, like the tier program at the casino, because you can get some of the money back maybe that you're investing into something that you love doing and having fun doing it. It sounds like you're both also, into the entertainer / community kind of aspect of this, which seems like I know it exists in all kinds of genres of content, but in the slots community, it's like there's a real community, and it's cool to see that people are kind of finding representation for this hobby or love that they have in this community.
Yeah, it's interesting. If it was up to me, I actually would make no daily videos and just live stream every day, because I really enjoy, which I'd be bankrupt in like 2 weeks, but we always get crushed on live streams. I really enjoy the community interaction. I enjoy the community building and talking with people and talking in real time about the games. And again, everything we film, we show, so it's not like you're not going to see it, but there's something thrilling about that live interaction. And again, even the title of the video may or may not give away what we're doing, but when it's live, you just don't know what's about to happen. And it's one of the areas where I really thought I could differentiate myself, because when you watch most people's live streams, they sit on one machine for an hour, occasionally 2 or 3, but they'll, pound and look. And I love NG to death, right? We did something with him. I love him. And he plays bigger than anyone, so it's amazing. But he stays on the same machine. And so I said, why not make this like a real casino experience? I don't know that I've had a live stream where I haven't played 8 to 10 games. And I always say I'm going to do it for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I always end up at 2-3 hours. And so it's literally a way for people to have an experience of going to the casino with friends and all the ups and downs that go with it. And of course, for everybody who's watching, it doesn't cost them anything. And I love doing it. And I think to me, that's the most fun.
That's really interesting. Wasil, I mean, you have experience with another genre of YouTube and social media, but you've seen kind of how big the potential can be. What do you think the potential is for slots content on YouTube and other social platforms? Where do you think, not only your channel, but where do you think the space is going in terms of growth?
I mean, I'll say this. I don't think it's necessarily just about the slots. I think if people like you for what you're doing and your personality, I think it's endless. I mean, you could easily, just look at Matt, you know what I mean? He reached 1 million subscribers. I think it's totally doable if you're putting out the right content and people like you. I really think that they'll follow. I don't think it's all about the slots at the end of the day, but I do think obviously a very big, percentage of it is how you're playing and what you're playing. So we're trying to, accommodate to what everyone wants to watch. I will say, there's not a lot of smaller channels that'll bet the way that we do. I mean, just as an example, our last live stream at Aria, we started off by betting 25 a spin on all aboard, and then quickly went to Dragon Link and started betting 250 because we were getting wrecked. Not a lot of smaller channels are going to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
So I think we're putting out content that people genuinely want to see, and I think it's good. I think it'll only be a matter of time before more people find us. And
yeah, I mean, with that kind of content, I don't think you'll be a smaller channel for a very long time.
I mean, we're definitely growing at a pretty fast pace, I'll say, for a smaller channel, and a lot of people are watching our stuff. But again, we're just going to stay true to ourselves, and this is exactly how we would be betting even if we weren't, live streaming. So
yeah,
I think it's great.
That's really interesting. Jared, you mentioned, rewinding to when you were thinking to start the channel, that you were seeing a lot of people posting kind of unrealistic content, and that it pissed you off, especially when you're betting a big, but really any slots, like you have the potential, at least, for normalizing this kind of risky behavior for viewers. And I'm curious if that's part of it. Like, is it an education and kind of protection that drives you as well, because like as more marketing and advertising money comes into the space, there's more like oversight and there's more risk, I guess, when it comes to this stuff. Is that a factor for you guys?
So it is in this regard, and this is going to be an unpopular opinion with some of the folks we're going to someday want money from. But a lot of times on a live stream, right? Wasil's going to lose his mind. But a lot of times on the live stream, I'll say things like, "Watch me gamble, so you don't have to." And I'm very brutally honest in the videos and on the live streams about the games that we're playing. And, there's been this massive increase in volatility, right, in the last 5, certainly 10 years compared to traditional slots. And, it's really hard for anybody at any level to walk into a casino and have the same entertainment experience that you used to be able to get. And I think people should know that. It doesn't mean you shouldn't play. And it's very hard to, really translate to people. Look, because I effectively play with an endless bankroll. I mean, we had a live stream in Vegas. I ran out of the money that I had pre-printed tickets on, and I literally went to the cage on the live stream and got, $20,000 more and kept going. And so it's hard in real time to like compare that to someone who's going to bring $100 and wants to have fun. But, I really try to point out, as Wasil said, I mean, we played for 40 minutes on a machine that gave no bonus. The live stream, we were pounding spins, hundreds, thousands of spins with no bonus. Like, this can happen. And so I think that it's important for people to understand the risks. I think it's important to manage bankroll and do, obviously my business background lends itself to that, but I don't necessarily play that way. And so I try to strike that balance of like, understand that what I'm doing is not how you should gamble, and I'll try to drop in those things. But I think responsible gaming is absolutely important because it is so addicting. You can very easily get into trouble. And so it is one of the reasons I want to show the reality, but I also want people to understand the way that I play and the way that I approach any individual machine or gaming session is not I don't want to call it the right way, but it's not the appropriate way to treat it. I mean, I'm here to entertain. I'm here to do this because I want it to be fun for people, but what's fun to watch is not necessarily always the smart way to approach it.
Well, I don't think not everyone has the stomach for that kind of 40-minute session. I don't think so.
Well, just to add on to that, I think what's super important that we're trying to do, and I think we've done a pretty good job of so far, is we're really just trying to set, realistic expectations. Like Jay said, we've literally, I mean, on some of these games, it's just ridiculous. And we've showed every ounce of it. You can literally go 500 spins and not get a single bonus. And if you do get one, it's going to be 10x. Like, that's just what it is. So we've dumped, we've dumped endless amounts of money into some of these games, and they literally don't pay. So, when he says, just watch us do it so that you don't have to gamble, it really is true. Like, a lot of people have the urge, but it's just better to watch us than to go lose your money, because we're showing it plain and simple on the live streams, on the videos. Some of these ultra volatile games, doing 500 spins and not getting a single bonus, anyone's going to lose their mind. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And if I had, I've got two things. So one, if you asked me what does success look like, obviously we could say something like, well, getting 1 million subs like Matt and things like that. But to me, success is the day that Light and Wonder or Aristocrat call me and ask me for my input on how do we make these games more entertaining? How do we make it a better player experience? Because again, I'm very vocal about the fact that, sitting there doing 500 spins is not entertaining. I'd rather have 10 mediocre bonuses that are fun than, 5 sessions of nothing and then one time I hit a big jackpot. And again, everybody wants different things, but it's, my opinion is the volatility is getting to a point that it impinges on experience. And so for me, I hope someday they call. The other comment I wanted to make on the education front, and probably nobody saw this video because it was a while back when I was getting started, but I did a video one day where I went and I played free play. I think might have been $2,000 of free play. And I was like, I'm going to monetize this free play. And I turned it into like, I don't know, whatever it was, $1,500. And then I was like, I'm going to keep playing it. And I literally lost it all. And I thought about it on the drive back, and I added a video at the end of it for anybody who watched this. And I said, this is the dumbest thing you could do, right? Like they gave me $2,000 free dollars. I could have gone home with $1,500 or whatever it was. And I stayed. And it was like, that was just stupid. Like you can always go back to the casino. There's always another day, So I use that as a teachable moment because I felt like it was so extremely just irresponsible, if you will.
It's relatable though. I mean, this is a lot of people are doing the exact same thing. It's like same thing with won money, right? It's like, oh, it's just free money that I won, so I can, be a lot more loose with it. So these are the kind of tips, like we talk about casino tips, and we're not talking about like how to beat the casino playing slots, but rather like how to have more fun, more responsibly, and be more informed. And some of even the game mechanics and features are a way of becoming more informed, so you know what to expect. And it sounds like you guys put responsible gambling kind of front and center, and also the nature of your play it shows at an extreme level, like because you're willing to post the losses, how it really goes, which is pretty rough sometimes at any stake, but certainly at that high stakes.
Well, you can take the zeros away and it's the same thing, right? I mean, if you're betting, $3 a spin and you lose $1,000 or $1,500, I mean, that's a lot of money at that level. And, I do talk about when we play the games that we play, like we talk about the volatility, and we, obviously we're showing that it can go that long, but I try to explain to people, right? I mean, money management, bankroll management is one of the most important things. And whether you want to call it bankroll management or having a budget. And, the problem is everybody wants to come in and hit the giant jackpot. And of course, generally speaking, right, the bigger jackpot, the more you have to bet. But if you come into the casino with $300 and start betting $10, you're going to be done in 5 minutes. And so, understanding this is how much I want to spend. And therefore, if I want to be here for X number of hours, like given the volatility, given the games that, at least if you've seen us play, what can happen, like you've got to bet appropriately. And look, I mean, you can win. We talk about it all the time. You can win a ton of money on a 50-cent bet. It's not likely to happen, all the time, but you just have to understand it's all proportional. And so, at the end of the day, it's meant to be entertainment. It's actually amazing how often people comment on the videos, like, especially like on our shorts, people will be like, oh, we hit a $9,000 jackpot when we were down 8,000, and people are like, oh, you spent 8,000 to make 1,000, and it's like, yeah, this isn't an investment, right? I'm not trying to beat the S&P with this money. It's like if I made $1,000 after being down 8, that's a great day at the casino. But the reality is this is just entertainment. And so, I actually I tell people who ask, don't ever use the ATM at a casino, right? If you didn't walk in with the money and you weren't expecting to play with the money, don't, right?
Not to mention the ATM fees in casinos, especially in Vegas, is crazy.
Actually, I saw they were raising them again. And I was telling people, when you're in Europe, it's free. They're literally like, please take more money.
Why do you think you're taking the money out? Like they need to charge you it's crazy. No, I mean, I think that's the big message that we try to get across, is that it's a form of entertainment, not a way to make money, and having a limit and being comfortable losing the entire amount and stopping there.
It is. And, what's interesting is, when I used to gamble before doing this, and I used to go, so for context, I mean, I would go to Vegas somewhere 6 to 8 times a year, sometimes a little more. I'd go to Atlantic City a few times a year. And then I, if I go on a cruise, I gamble. I mean, I gamble somewhat regularly, but obviously not every day. And even I would get that feeling when I was in there winning or losing or anything, where I'd be like, I just got to play a little more. Like there's no tomorrow.
It's a form of entertainment that, like you said, you can actually win money at. So that's a bonus, and player cards and loyalty programs and all this stuff is another, another tip that we often try to tell people to take advantage of whatever money you can get back, because you're not going to be winning money playing slots in the long run.
I play. So people ask me sometimes, do you play with your card, or do you take your card out to change and I tell people, I always use my card. I don't, they're giving you something back, right? And it all goes into the formula of how much are the machines paying back? How much are they giving you? Obviously, I get great comps. But I take advantage of them. I mean, Wasil will tell you, he'll be like, all right, we're going to film videos. And I'm like, nope, got a massage now. He'll be like, great, we'll start at 5. And I'm like, nope, going to a hockey game. Because I will take advantage of, he'll be like, okay, 8 o'clock, nope, concert tonight. And he's like, then what are we doing here? But
I actually started going to the games with him. I might as well take advantage myself.
Right. But the reality is, even when you're playing locally and you're playing smaller stakes, like one of the things that I like about all the casinos here is they give you good food comp deals, and so especially again, you can go down, have a free meal. And obviously it's not free, you've paid for it, but have a free meal. Yeah. And then, if you want to play, you can play. But it adds up. If you really add it up over the year between free play, meals, even the casinos locally do, they have tickets to baseball and basketball games and stuff like that. So it's crazy not to take advantage of them because it goes into the formula of how they reward players.
I mean, playing at the level you're playing at, it must be a pretty big factor. And you guys, you'd think that people would be competing for your business pretty aggressively at this level. I mean,
we're not going to mention any names, obviously, but I mean, some properties are literally terrible with it. I mean, it's absurd. They do not value our business whatsoever. It actually feels the opposite. I would tell
you that broadly, and look, I have a couple of great hosts at a couple of properties. They take care of me. I have no complaints specifically, but as corporate entities and as generally speaking, I feel like more often they act like I should be grateful that they're letting me play there, that I should be so thankful to be giving them.
Like letting you film there? Is that what you mean? Or
I think it's both. I think that I think there is a feeling of filming, which, some casinos you have to get permission. Some it's just sort of a blanket. Anybody can do it. But I just think in general, I feel like, and again, I don't pull punches, even though, to an extent there's a partnership with, it's not a paid partnership, but, the permission of filming. I just think in general, casinos have become fat and happy with, they just expect people are going to show up. And so they really don't care whether they have your business or not. And, if you're not there, somebody else will be. And look, we can get into a whole economic discussion, right? This is like my background, but I think you're about to see it. I think that we've had effectively, not counting COVID, because it was a unique thing, we've had 15, 16 uninterrupted years of really good economic prosperity. People have had jobs, they've had extra income. Obviously, COVID gave people even more free money. I think you're about to see in the next 12 to 18 months, you're going to see a shakeout. People are going to stop going. They're not going to gamble as much because I think other people feel this way on a relative basis. But like you said, for the level we're playing at, you would think that people would be calling all day and night saying, please come give us your business.
Not to mention the promotion that you provide by filming and putting it out there to a large group of people. Yeah, I mean, this is such a common story from so many influencers where they, it's surprising, and maybe like the downtick in the economy will have a knock-on effect of making people in the casino marketing business more hungry for the kind of services. I mean, just based on people could watch this interview and they should probably have you guys playing in their casino. Well,
we say good things when we're in the casino, right? If we're losing, we're not like F this casino. It's like, no, F this game that we're playing that's losing. If we have a bad experience in the casino, we just don't talk about it. We may not go back, or but
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but it's really fascinating. And I understand, there's like, Wynn is the best example of a casino that really doesn't want anybody filming because they want to be a little more low key and they don't want all the hoopla. And I can appreciate that. But I also think it's really clear, right? If you think that we're too rowdy or, we're bringing in 100 people and it's chaos, you can like, hey guys, tone that down. But like, we don't even do that. We just, you really can't even tell we're filming. We just happen to have a tripod in front of us. And so, I don't think it's disruptive, and I don't understand why more casinos aren't interested in that marketing opportunity.
Do you have any properties that stand out as having treated you well or being receptive to this, or just in general places that you guys like to play the most?
So I'll say it this way. I think that, I've played at Aria since it's opened as a player. And, it's one of the toughest places from a filming perspective because they're one of the biggest corporations, and therefore they're going to have the most bureaucracy, the most red tape. And they've been a very good partner in getting that permission and getting security and just all the, like, it's relatively seamless given the size of the operation. I do think El Cortez is doing a great job of bringing influencers in. We haven't really played there a lot. but they're definitely reaching out and trying. I think Durango is a great place. I know a lot of people film there. I don't film there, but it's been challenging. We've tried several places in Atlantic City, and it's been a challenge. And it's not just getting permission, right? We can get permission, but then security hassles you, or they won't turn the
shift change happens, and the next security guy hassles you.
Yeah, or they don't want to turn the music down, and it's like, well, if there's too much music and every video is going to have a copyright infringement, this doesn't work. And we've had experiences where we're filming at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. There's nobody else, barely in the casino, let alone in the high limit, and they don't want to accommodate. And it's like, look, we're about to put $50,000 or $100,000 through these machines today. I mean,
the least that you can do is
turn the music down. Or there's some places where we'll film for 7 minutes and hit a jackpot, and then it takes 30 minutes to get paid, and then we hit a jackpot 5 minutes later, and it takes 30 minutes to get paid. And there's process issues there, but there's also there's got to be better ways to make it. And again, even if we weren't filming, if I was just playing, this would be a terrible experience. So it's an industry that is slower to adapt and adjust broadly, but I think they're getting there with some of these things. But again, I think in the world of influencers, slot influencers is still really small, and so a lot of them, they don't deal with it that often. Again, Vegas sees it more than pretty much anybody else. But I'm sure other influencers will tell you when they go to visit one-off casinos that bring them in, they still have some of these challenges. And so it's just taking time. But I think that, I think a lot of them will get there. But at the end of the day, the other comment I would make really to your question is I want to play where I enjoy playing. Like, I want to enjoy going to somewhere where I enjoy the rooms, I enjoy the restaurants, I like the game selection, I like the vibe. Like, that's what I lead with. I will give anybody a shot. Again, if Casino ABC called me tomorrow and said, "Hey, we want you to come film and try us out," like, we'll try it. But if I don't like it, I'm not going to go just because.
Yeah, it's also a good tip to obviously play where, if you're going to get comps, where you like spending the comps and hanging out. And it's great. Like you said, it's awesome to have a relationship with good hosts, and that can make a big difference too. I'm curious if you guys play online, like real money casinos or sweepstakes or anything else.
That's Wasil.
I mean, I used to, like, a little while back, but I haven't really recently. No.
Yeah, he's the younger guy who tries the online stuff. I actually played online back in the 90s. And then, when it all went away, I never really picked it up again. And I it's interesting because I know some people will say, look, the odds are better and the payback's better because it's obviously much cheaper, but
I don't think that's the case.
It just doesn't interest me. It really doesn't. And I don't know. I'm also in the casino so much,
Wasil, what about you? What's your opinion about online? You said you played for a while, but don't as much anymore.
I mean, it's just not the same. Like, if you're, there's just so many issues with the online gaming. Like, it just hasn't been perfected. I mean, you'll go and do $1,000 blackjack hand, and then you'll just, for some whatever reason, the virtual room just gets disconnected, and then you have no idea where the hand went or whatever. And then
so do you have trust issues with it, or?
I think there's trust issues. I mean, I also just, I don't know, like the slots are just not the same. It just hasn't been perfected. And also, I mean, if you're going to go gamble a bunch of money, I'd much rather do it at an in-person location where I know that there's physical people to help and stuff like that if you need something. I mean, I haven't had much luck on it either. I've honestly done better in in-person casinos. I will say one thing, like online, everything's super transparent. Like, all the providers, I mean, at least all of them that I've ever used, like, they show you the RTP on the games and everything. I would just say, like, interactively speaking, it's just not the same. It's not the same as an in-person casino. Like, you're not going to have as much fun. I'll say that.
Where do you see it fitting into, like, the marketing of that influencers can do in the space? I know there's a lot of money coming into the space, specifically through sweepstakes casinos, and a lot of the big channels are actively marketing it. Do you think that this is something that, and if you look at other parts of the world, this is something that's been going on with online slots for a really long time and successfully. And I'm curious, do you guys see, or do you talk to people, do you see any kind of transition where land-based slots players are trying it, or do you think that will come? Do you see any barriers to that happening?
Like, to rephrase a little bit, like it is fun. Like if you're playing on a good provider, again, the problem is just the experience is never going to be like an in-person, casino. But I mean, a lot of the online platforms like Stake and whatnot, I mean, they're a ton of fun. I used to use them. The variety of slots and everything that you can do is unmatched. I mean, you're going to have more games and more options than in person. And obviously, if you can't travel, and I will say another thing, I mean, a lot of the online platforms will deposit match you up to like $5,000, which you're not getting at an in-person casino. So I think it is. I think it's fun. I mean, they're awesome on live streams to use. I will say that. It's just down to a personal preference, but I think a lot more slot influencers are starting to play online for sure.
Being able to stream from home, and I actually got started in the slots content space through online streaming, like on Twitch and Kick, and it's a cool vibe. Like it's an intimate experience, I think, when you're on your computer chatting to people compared to like the chat that happens in a casino with so much going on. But yeah, I think personal preference is obviously a big part of it, and I think following what we've seen in the rest of the world, I really think that it's going to start catching on more and more. Maybe a lot, because a lot of the money opportunities will come from online operators. Going back to what we talked about before about consumer protection and stuff, you mentioned Stake. There's a big range of trustworthiness when it comes to sweepstakes and online casinos. And I think as more influencers become more familiar with it, it's another opportunity for influencers to help educate people about, the reputable places and what people need to know, because there's a lot of like disreputable sites that do market through influencers and otherwise that it's hard to tell them apart from like regulated sites.
Yeah, I mean, I think, just do your research. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. I mean, obviously Stake is a good one. So many different influencers use it. I've never really heard of anyone having a problem. There's a few other ones that are also good. I would just say, do your research. I mean, if there's a lot of people, using it and you haven't heard of any issues. And I mean, again, like if they're offering you, deposit matches and this and that, like, you can read through all the terms. You can see where the site's being ran out of. Just because it's sweepstakes doesn't mean that it's bad. It's all a research-based thing. I mean, there's legal sites, here in New Jersey that you can gamble on that are legalized by the state that suck way more than Stake. So it really just depends,
And I can tell you, as somebody who played back in the day when it was absolutely rigged. I mean, I played online poker, which was, had its own issues, with players. But then I played blackjack and I played those games in the casinos, and you literally, I mean, I wish I could have tracked all the hands back then, because there is literally no way that it was random. It was literally like psychologically designed to put you on a very specific path to take your money. And so I have that memory, and I know that the industry has come a long way and the regulations have come a long way. And so for me to ever get behind or support one, like you'd have to convince me 100% that it was, as legit or as legitimate as, regular casinos are, and that it's truly. But I do think that, look, it's convenient, it's accessible, it's smoke free. You don't have to wait to get on a machine. It has all the reasons in the world that you should, or that it should become more popular. Right. There's no reason, again, I'm the old guy who wants to go be in physical person, but everybody's on their devices now. And so, I would just, if I had to guess where the trend is going, I would say that's where it's going to be. And so again, the legitimate players, should find ways to, reach the audience to say, hey, this is where you should spend your money.
Yeah. SlotsFan is very much about trying to demystify the whole situation with sweepstakes and real money online casinos, as well as supporting influencers. I'm curious, it kind of made me think of something you said before about the entertainment factor of games in themselves, whether they're for real money or not. And we're seeing a big rise in popularity in like more gamified, more immersive, interactive games that provide more of an entertainment experience. So much to the point where like social casinos don't offer any cash prizes at all, and they're still really popular. Even the online versions of some of the big titles in land-based casinos are huge communities of people playing these games online. And I think one thing they're tapping into online is like a more entertaining experience with the game itself that's maybe less tied to like just 3 reels winning money kind of thing.
Well, if you look at it, right, if you look at where all these slots have gone, right, the reels are almost meaningless, right? They really should just have a blank screen that just says no until you get a bonus, because the bonus is what we're playing for, and not because it is where you win all the money, but that's the fun, right? One of my favorite games is Hot Pots, or the new Hot Pots. And one of the reasons it's fun is because the bonus can last 10 minutes, right? It just goes on, and it's fun. And it's, again, I've had long bonuses like that where the end dollar amount won is not nearly what I've won on a quicker, but it was fun. It's a fun experience. And so, even things like, the Huff and Puff behind you, when the wolf howls or the wind blows or the tail, like it's all those little things. And so it's getting more and more gamey and more like a video game. And again, you're paying to have that experience and that entertainment, not to see if 3 reels, say bar, bar, bar. And so it's just, that's where the games are heading. And it is more fun when that happens.
Not to mention the cabinet size and like the detail. They're going to be like the size of a building soon.
It's getting a little ridiculous, but again, it's fun. The bright light and the colors and the, and we talk about the screen, just the screen quality, right? The video, again, it's like you're, watching a movie or playing a game, as opposed to just this box with a couple of reels spinning in it.
We should make an arcade cabinet where you play online slots on it, so it feels more like a reel.
That'd be amazing.
We'll make one and ship it to you guys, and you can play. You can try it online slots on the screen. I want to ask, I know like the stakes you guys play at must yield some crazy experiences, both big wins, but also big losses, big roller coasters. I want to ask you guys about some of the stories that you have. But before that, now that we're on the topic of games, you mentioned before that you're looking forward to the time when Light & Wonder or IGT or one of these big companies calls you and says, how can we make our games better? What would you say to them? And, people in the industry watch this show and we share it with them. What are some of the features?
I know what he's going to say. He's getting ready.
And I know there's variety and there's different kinds of games and volatility and everything. But for you, what are the features and mechanics and factors that go into making a game really entertaining for you?
Well, the number one thing on my list would be bonus frequency. I would, and again, to go 500 spins and get a 10x bonus is also a little ridiculous. And so I would rather see the volatility smoothed out. It's interesting because I'm going to play either way, right? I'm not trying to hit one thing and run out of the casino. But I just think giving people, ultimately we could boil this down to math and say, look, if somebody's going to bet, $2 a spin for X number of minutes, how much do we have to keep of that money so that it's profitable? And based on that, how often can we trigger a bonus and what does the payback have to look like? Because the other feature that I would add to that is that I think there should be minimum guarantees on different bonuses. Like, I think it's atrocious that in Huff and Puff or Huff and Even More Puff, you can get a howl and you can get a gold saw and you can win 10x with no mansions, right? I think that there should be, if you're going to make games where it's a truly special feature, or it's a luck has arrived, or it's really hard to get, the harder it is to get the bonus, the more you should definitely be rewarded. Now, there should be a randomness to, did you win 50x or 500x? And you can have regular bonuses that are more disappointing more often. But it's so counterintuitive that somebody chases something that's so rare and then doesn't get rewarded for doing it. And again, there's an algorithm and a formula to ensure that everybody makes profit. I don't think there's going to be any concern, but I just think it would be more fun to say, oh my God, I got an upgrade. I know I've at least won X.
Yeah. And more frequent bonuses kind of makes it more acceptable to have more volatility and not minimum wins sort of thing.
Well, part of my underlying philosophy, and again, I understand a lot of people are chasing the big, look, I'm chasing the super mansion feature. I haven't had one yet. I want one. I want to win, 1000x. But as much as I think regular people would tell you they want the big bonus, I think they'd rather have an entertaining experience. And, the reality is you're not going to generally walk in with $100 and walk out with 3,000. So why make the games volatile? Because otherwise, I say everybody should just put the money in a hopper when they walk in and pick it, and it's a lotto ticket. right? You're not playing the lotto. You're there to be entertained. And so entertaining is more bonuses. And some of it goes back to what I said a minute ago. There are no line hits anymore. Line hits are effectively useless. There were a couple of games, I'm not going to name them, but we were playing the other day, and I got almost a full screen in it. I was betting, what was I betting? Like $15, and it paid like $45 on almost a full screen. Like, that's ridiculous, And so I just think if the fun is in the bonuses, let's have more of them. And again, everybody can take their cut. The casinos will make their money. But let's just make it a more fun experience. Again, if I lose $200 and I played for 2 hours and had like 9 bonuses, it was like, hey, that was fun. I was entertained.
Yeah, I feel that. When you say more bonuses, like, I know you're saying frequency, it also makes me think of like more kinds of bonuses. I love games that have like a variety of different features that you can hit, and like they're all interactive and unique. You have to hand it to slot developers how creative they are, and how they make all this work.
Sure.
With the actual math is nuts, but more variety and like engaging bonuses is also big for me.
It's interesting. So I agree with that, but I'm going to give you a counter example in a second. So I do like a lot of these games where if you trigger over here, it's one type of bonus. If you trigger over here, and if you trigger both, you get something else that happens, or the way some of the triple pops interact. But what I will give a lot of big kudos on Momo Mummy, because there was a game in the original, right, that had 3 different, it had free games, it had the jackpot, and it had cash collect. And it turns out everybody just loves cash collect bonuses, right? It's easily one of my 3 favorite bonuses in the casino. And they recognized that, and they just said, look, we're going to have one bonus with different variations, right? Bigger or multiple gems. And so there was an example where in some ways they shrank the type of bonus, but yet to me it is so much more fun because you're getting that bonus that you really want. But I agree in general. I think if you take a more broad approach within the casino, there are more types of bonuses. Firelink, I'll give them credit as a good example where they're, and again, they're volatile as anything and they're hard to get, but there's so many different types, even though a lot of it is still the core bonus that we all like to chase after, the variations within it are a lot of fun. And so,
no doubt.
The ability to have those opportunities is fun.
Wasil, what about you? What are some of the features that you find the most fun, or how can people learn to make better games?
Yeah, I mean, to jump back onto what Jackpot Jay was saying, there should absolutely be a minimum that you can win on any bonus. I mean, I can't count the amount of times that we've chased after a bonus on a game, dumping tens of thousands of dollars into some of these, very volatile games, and then our bonus pays 20x. Like, I'm just tired of some of these bonuses. I mean, I swear, like, I'm pretty sure some of the bonuses that like we've had is probably a record. I don't think anyone else has had them.
We have a new saying, the Jackpot J special, because I literally can get a 5x or less bonus.
You mean a record low bonus?
Record low. Yeah. We actually we joke about like starting a channel just to, because if there is a crappy bonus like to be had, we've had bonuses 2x, 1x all the time. No joke. Like all the time.
And games that you wouldn't even think was possible.
Right. We had a bonus on a Buffalo game where he's like, you have no idea how rare this is. Like, you're going to win $20,000 minimum. And
he won the worst possible layout I've ever seen in my life. And I was in disbelief. I really thought, usually it's like a minimum of 200-300x, right? This special feature.
Yeah.
He somehow managed to get a 30x on this ultra rare feature. And I was like, there's no way.
It's not necessarily the skill you want to have as a slots player.
You know what?
But seriously though, like, more bonus frequency, there should absolutely be like, it should be a maximum, and I mean an absolute maximum of 150 spins before you get a bonus on any game. That's more than enough of a chance. You're hitting the random number generator so many different times. You should be able to get a bonus after 150 spins, and it should be at a minimum, like a minimum of somewhere between a 30 to 50x at a minimum. They should not be able to pay less than that. We've had some bonuses, I kid you not, were 2x, and it just doesn't make any sense. How is that supposed to be any fun?
I mean, I think everyone knows that feeling of like chasing a bonus and then finally getting it and just getting completely rinsed on the bonus.
Yeah, or I mean, some of the easiest games in the casino, right? Like, some games are just not volatile. Like, the bonus frequency is really good. And then you sit down And for whatever reason, it takes us 250 spins to get it. Or even some of those ultra volatile games, it's like, how can you possibly go 500 spins without anything? It just doesn't make any sense.
I do it every day, so it's, you know.
But like the argument can be that like maybe the game was in a bad pay cycle, but like it's happened to us so many times where that just can't be the case.
It's hard to understand how the RTP works out sometimes with your experience and trends. I mean, you see it like, Jay, you must know from poker, just like the swings and the trends that can happen. You see it in roulette and other stuff. It's crazy how like of random things seems to really happen in these big trends, and it's super rough when it's a downswing.
It does. I mean, I had a year playing blackjack where this is not a joke. For an entire year, I didn't win 3 hands in a row. And I played a lot that year because obviously I figured it's got to end. And so, it can happen. I think the difference is, with a slot machine, you could program it, right? You could program it's going to hit after 150 or 500 or pick a number,
right.
Again, all within the realm of randomness. But yeah, I mean, it's just a frequency that it happens to us is like I said, it's frustrating and it's annoying and we hate losing money, but more than anything, it's just not entertaining, whether you're filming it or whether you're just sitting there playing for fun. And so I think that, like I said, I would rather not hit as much of the big ones in exchange for, some smaller and more frequent entertainment. But that's,
do you guys ever get good views on those videos? Because the video you described where they're telling you you're guaranteed to win a lot, you get 2x. Sounds kind of entertaining in a crappy way.
Oh, literally all the time. I mean, I think some people are just in genuine disbelief when we post these things because no one else is posting it. I mean, you can't tell me that we're the only people that this thing happens to. There's no way.
When I was before Wasil, I would say in my first, 6 months, 9 months, pick a time frame, like easily 7 of my top 10 videos were the ones where I got just destroyed. Like people it was painful to watch, but people wanted to see it because they couldn't believe that it was happening.
I mean, I love the lives for that kind of like suspense that is real, that, the potential disaster that is looming is like, it's a real, real suspenseful experience. We just had a live stream. We were down like $8,000 or $9,000. We hit an $80-some-$100 jackpot on Chica Bonita to get it all back, and then went over to Dollar Storm and lost 20 grand, betting 50 to 125. Lost just straight. I mean, live. And so we didn't know. Were we about to like book a huge win, coming off the Chica downswing? And no, the machine just, dumped all over us.
We got a lot of bonuses, by the way. That's the crazy part.
And they were all bad.
And they were all terrible.
Which again, that's the other thing. How many bad bonuses before you find a good one, right? And again,
I guess they're more likely. Bad bonuses are more likely to happen, but still, you'd think it'd be hard to hit a lot of them.
We make it look easy. And again, I view it as the educational component of like, this can happen, right? It can happen to you. It can happen to anybody. It can happen because a lot of times, right, you see a lot of comments where people will say, only high limit players can win, or only people betting $25 or $50 can get great bonuses. It's like, look, we can, I can have just as bad a bonus, and it's amazing how often somebody next to me will be betting $5 and will win nominally more dollars than I will on a bonus, right? So it can happen to anyone. And I think people, again, I want to show it because I want people to know that it's real.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons slots are so exciting are that there is the potential for a really big multiplier win, even if you're betting really low, and it's obviously less likely to happen, but it's so much more satisfying when you hit like a really big win on a low bet that you can sustain.
We've seen people betting $1 win 4,000.
Yeah. We've had some people on the show that have won like super grands for like 25,000x and 50,000x and stuff like this, which is wild. Like 75K on a $3 bet.
We were chasing the other day a $10,000 maxed out major, right? We're betting 25 and 50 and whatever. We leave the machine. This woman sits down. It's a high limit machine. She bet the minimum $5, nailed it. Won 10 grand on a $5 bet. And it's exciting. And by the way, I tell people, to me, look, we're playing high limit because it's what we do and it's entertaining and all that. But I think playing lower stakes and hitting big jackpots is fun. when you hit a major betting 50 cents, $1, $2, it's what, look, if I hit a major, it's cool, but like I could just as easily hit an orb, for the same amount, but you're not going to hit, $1,000 orb betting $1. And so to me, as a casual player, it's more fun to bet low and try to hit the big one. Obviously, you get that many more chances to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I like it because you get to spend more time hanging out. And, if you're in Vegas, maybe you get some free drinks or free stuff and the experience is good. I play Pai Gow for the same reason, because you can play forever and nothing happens, which is perfect for me. You get to look at lots of cards. I feel like we've covered some of the low payout results that you guys have had. I'm curious if you have any big win stories that stand out in your memory.
Do we have any in there, Jared?
Yeah, well, of course, there's an obvious one, and after that, I might not have any. No, we just shot not that long ago when I hit 15,000 subs. We decided to do a 15,000 for 15,000 video. So we did $150 spins. And as another prime example, got nothing, literally nothing out of it. And I was like, you know what, we're going to put $5,000 more in, and, let's just go 125 a spin. And we nailed it. And we hit a $25,000 minor, the first time I've ever done that. And obviously a whole bunch of other stuff. And so we won, $30,000 and got back everything we lost on
what game was it?
Auto Moon Dragon Link.
Nice.
And so, that was just from a total experience. It was amazing because the 15,000 just went straight down. Obviously it was meant to be a celebration, and it was just like, we can't go out like this. We gotta, and I just wanted to get some kind of a bonus, right? I wasn't expecting to hit for 30,000. And I was literally, if you watch the short, you can't see it on the main video because, we're on the screen, but on the short, I'm literally laying on the floor in disbelief. Cause it was just so
That's a roller coaster, eh?
Yeah, it was pretty cool, but it's really funny. And I've had other jackpots in the $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 range, but unlike a lot of other channels, I don't hit big jackpots. It's kind of the same thing as hitting all these crappy bonuses. I've never hit $80,000, $100,000, $150,000 on anything, no matter what I've been betting. When I hit a bonus on 250 on Dragon Link, I won 8,000. We
did just hit that really good bonus on the new hot pots. What was it, 20-some thousand?
Oh, on the was that the live stream?
Yeah, I think it was on the live stream. We got the super lantern, and it was a really good bonus.
Yeah, that was 22. That was fun, and again, that was at the end of a live stream. So those are the fun ones stick out. But I know everybody else has these stories of I hit $1,000 for 134,000, or I hit 20 buffalo and won 96,000 on a $25 bet. I'm waiting for those stories, but it's even before, when I played before, I just never, again, I've hit a lot of 100x, 200x, again, a lot of $10,000, $20,000 type bonuses, which are great often for the bet size, but I just don't hit the mega ones. And I'm hoping to, I've never hit a high limit grand. I've obviously never hit a super or a super grand for multiple hundreds of thousands, but I mean, it's one of the things that motivates me to keep doing this, is to try to get one of those.
I think it's awesome that your name's Jackpot Jay, and you're telling us how you don't hit jackpots.
I hit jackpots. I just don't hit the mega jackpot. I mean, and that's the thing. I can hit jackpots. I just can't hit, but and in some ways, I think early on it was relatable, because most people don't hit jackpots when they're betting smaller, but it's you can relate to the bet size and the winnings or losings that I'm having. Again, I don't just show up every day going, all right, I'm betting $25 and look, I won 80 grand. It just doesn't work out that way. And, this is, I don't know if I'm above or below the mean, but this is the reality. Once a year, you'll see me hit a really huge one. Or again, I've hit, I think 3 or 4 grand jackpots in total. And, that's given the frequency of play, that's probably about how often you should hit them.
Yeah, we've talked to so many people, and it's, I think, the reality of people have a really skewed idea of what the reality is when it comes to jackpots. And maybe that's supported by the way that a lot of big channels post their content. You know, there are channels that represent it unrealistically when it comes to how many wins. Cause I've talked to people that have played their whole life and like never hit a grand or anything like that. So
yeah,
I thought for the longest time, I mean, look at it this way. I had not hit one until I started doing this. So, I mean, you're talking 20 some years, and I didn't play slots at the beginning. So let's say 15 years of playing slots before I hit my first one. So but I've seen people that are 21 years old that are in the casino for their first time and they hit them. It's that random. And there's, unless you literally play the same machine all day, every day for 5 years, like there's nothing that says you're going to get one. Even then you may not get one.
Yeah, I remember from poker, people would do these graphs where they would plot, you know, when you're playing online, you can look at your results versus expected value based on all the situations you've ever been in. It's crazy to see the trends of people running above or below expected value. And so you think that's got to happen, especially with the volatility of games these days. And I personally, I know you're not like due to win more, but I do feel like variance evens out over time, and like things, you will experience the other side of variance, which is like sometimes you can't not lose, and that it's a awesome thing for your bankroll and also the videos. But yeah, it seems like, I mean, it's set up so that the bad side of it's going to be more common, I guess.
Well, it's more common because you're going to lose more than you're going to win. And you're certainly, you know, it's interesting. You know, I think about the, you know, Matt Damon's quote in Rounders when he talks about, you know, most people can't remember their big wins, but you always remember the bad beats and the big losses. And those are the ones that stick out. And I can definitely tell you more about my big losses. You know, there's a handful of big jackpots that I remember for whatever reason, but the big losses stick with me. But like you said, we've had trips, you know, and obviously an individual trip is a little tight for variance, but we've had trips where, you know, all we do is lose for 2 days. And then all of a sudden on day 3, it's like, you know, I mean, there was one morning we hit like 3 high limit majors in an hour and a half. I mean, what are the odds of that happening? We hit 2 in a single video. We hit a major, we went to another game and hit a major again. And so, you know, you can't say it evens out because it's not going to be even per se, but there's swings, and sometimes they're going to, like you said, sometimes it'll be red, black, and sometimes it'll be black 50 times in a row. And then, you know, down the road, it'll even with it. So if you're going to do this, you can't worry about it. And it's one of the things I've tried. It's for me as a lesson is to really try to not get caught up in it. Like if we're losing, we're losing. If we're winning, we're winning. But like you said,
it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before about being comfortable with losing the money that you're putting towards slots. And if you can do that, then it's a great form of entertainment, and the wins are a huge bonus.
And I do play, actually, by the way, I don't know if I can say this in an absolute across the board, but generally I play above my theoretical loss. And so even when I'm losing big, you know, look, if we lose $40,000 on a machine, obviously that day I didn't play above it. But if you look over the course of 3, 6, 12 months, like you can say, man, you're losing a lot of money. And the counterpoint is, but for as much as we've played, I'm actually not losing as much as I should have. And so, you know, there's 2 sides to the coin, and again, it all comes back to you're going to lose. These places are built to lose. The house has an edge. It's meant to be entertainment. It's not an investment. It's not a profitable endeavor, if you will. We're here to have fun. And so, you know, you've got to keep that perspective.
I think it's a great perspective to have. And it's, you know, when we were talking about marketing casino and online casino through influencers, I think that message becomes really, really important. And it's not always the case with regulations and stuff and the way people put up content. I see that we've gone well over an hour now. This has been such a great conversation. I think we can start wrapping it up, but I wanted to make sure that we mentioned everything that you guys have on the go. I can't wait to check in with you guys soon. I know this channel is going to keep growing, and we're here to follow along and hopefully check in the future. But is there anything else exciting that you guys want to tease, or anything on the channel people should check out in particular, or anything upcoming?
Yeah, I mean, we have some awesome collabs coming out that you know we that are already filmed and going to be posted soon. I mean, but we're just going to keep on going, and we have a lot of plans to bet bigger and do a lot of themed videos where we're doing a lot of bigger spins, and obviously 20,000 subs is coming up, so we're going to do something really big for that, and that's pretty much it. We're just going to keep on filming every day and just going after it and posting as much as we can, and obviously doing collabs and coming up with new ideas and stuff like that.
Are you collaborating with other slots influencers?
Yes.
Nice.
The one is a true holy broccoli moment.
All right.
As a good tease as to who that's going to be with. I enjoy the collabs, and obviously we want to collaborate with the larger guys because they have the audience and people watch it. But I just want to play slots with other people who play like me, where we can shoot a video and have fun together. And again, this whole thing is supposed to be fun and having a good time, and giving people entertainment that they want to see. And so, that's what I'm looking to do. I mean, if I figure I sort of had this mantra from the beginning, which is, the market will speak to us. If people like what I'm doing and it's entertaining, then the channel will grow and we'll keep doing it. And I will admittedly, the bigger we get, I will get more and more crazy. Because again, the beauty of making money on YouTube is that it will afford the opportunity to do more. Like I've already said, when we hit 100,000, I will do $1,000 spins. Like we will not be making the money to justify it, but I don't care. Like to me, that's going to be fun. Now look, hopefully we win and it pays for itself. But but my view is, look, if people don't like it, they'll stop watching, and I don't want to say that's okay, but ultimately we're here to be entertaining and fun. And so I hope people find it that way. I hope people enjoy it. And like I said, I try to do that both on video and in the live streams, because it's just, and the other thing I would say that I really hope that I can stay true to this as long as realistically feasible. Like I respond to every comment on every video. Like I want this to be fun for people. And so if if you're inappropriate, we'll get rid of it. But I tell people, good, or you can criticize me. You can tell me I bet stupid, or I don't like you want to interact. Let's interact. This is meant to be entertaining for people. And so, it's getting harder as the number of comments increases every day, but it's meant to be fun and interactive. So let's do it. And I really want to stay true to that.
I think you guys have all the great ingredients for a channel here, like your personalities and just your passion and enthusiasm for gambling and slots is so big, and pair that with big bets and, your stomach for the real ups and downs that come with that. I think, it takes a pretty tough constitution to be able to do that. And I think the feedback you're getting from what I've seen on your channel is really positive, and I'm sure it's going to continue growing. So I had one last question, actually. Wasil, you mentioned that all influencers gamble. We see influencer marketing from more mainstream influencers, like Drake comes to mind, who promotes stake. Do you think that is there a place for, or is there an appetite in other genres of influencers who maybe even have bigger audiences than Vegas Matt to get involved with this kind of thing? And do you think we can expect to see anything like that happen?
I mean, it's totally possible. I mean, that was a perfect example, Drake, right? I'll tell you from personal experience and just, all the friends that I have. I mean, I'm friends with creators from, 500,000 followers all the way to 30 million, and they literally all do it. I'm sure if any of them was offered an opportunity to bring it into their content or their niche, that they would. I don't know. A lot of them are honestly like kind of secretive about it, or it's just a hobby for them. So I honestly really don't know, but I'm sure if any of them got like a really awesome opportunity and they could fit it into their content, then they totally would.
That's really interesting. Thanks for that. Okay. Thank you so much to both of you for being on the show. I appreciate the extended interview, and it was really exciting and informative conversation. And for everyone watching, like I said before, please follow the link in the description to Jackpot J Slots and subscribe. And I think anyone that's watched this is going to be subscribing to your channel based on all the stuff that you teased. And I'm sure going and checking out some of those videos that you guys referred to, because they sound pretty wild. And I'm excited myself to go check out some more of the content. So thank you so much. I look forward to the next time, and best of luck both on the slots, but also with the channel and with everything else you guys got going on.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having us.